back to the channel. Today we're going to unravel some incredibly complex events in Genoa. Rumors are circulating around the Newman family, but what's the truth? In this video, I'll summarize the plot points that will be revealed in the next episode. Stay tuned to see what happens. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is Tuesday, a beautiful day, but my mood is honestly pretty gloomy right now. Grab a cup of coffee because we have a ton to unpack today. We really need to talk about the Newmans and the absolute heartbreak coming our way next week. Let's just dive right into it because I am still processing this and I need to vent. So next week is going to be brutal, like absolutely gut-wrenching, rip your heart out, brutal. A tragic, dramatic goodbye is looming over Genoa City, and it is bringing some of the worst, most devastating news we have seen in a long, long time. We are talking about Nikki Newman, our Nikki, and the reality that Victor Newman is being forced to face. Only he's not facing it. He's completely rejecting it. But let's back up a second. We've been watching this medical crisis unfold for a while now. The headaches, the vision problems, the MS flare-ups, the terrifying diagnoses. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the official word from the top surgeon. The survival rate, 10%, just 10%. That's the number they gave Victor. A 10% chance of survival for the love of his life. And honestly, I'm just sitting here staring at my screen trying to wrap my head around it. 10%? What are the writers thinking? Are they really going to do this to us? To Victor? It just feels so sudden, so cruel. And of course, Victor's reaction is exactly what you would expect. But it's also so much more heartbreaking than I thought it would be. The scene where the surgeon delivers the news, it's just heavy. You can feel the air getting sucked out of the room. The top surgeon, the absolute best money can buy, the guy Victor probably paid millions to fly in on a private jet, stands there and drops this 10% bomb. And Victor? He just flat out refuses to accept it. He literally rejects the medical reality. He stands there, jaw clenched, eyes furious, and demands more expert opinions. He wants to change that number. He wants to buy a different reality. Because he's Victor Newman, right? He thinks he can just write a check and fix the universe. He thinks he can intimidate death itself. But you can see the cracks. You can see the pure, unadulterated desperation hiding right behind that tough billionaire exterior. It's not just stubbornness this time. It's sheer terror. He is terrified of losing Nikki. I mean, let's be real here, guys. Victor has always been a control freak. He controls his company, his kids, his enemies, his wife, but he cannot control this. And watching him try to bully a medical diagnosis is just, it's pathetic in the most tragic, sympathetic way possible. He's yelling, he's demanding new treatments, different specialists, experimental procedures, anything to get that number above 10%. But the number is the number. And the harder he fights it, the sadder it gets. I was watching this and thinking, maybe I'm being too harsh on Victor. He's just a husband who loves his wife. Okay, that sounded dramatic, but you get what I mean. He's a man watching his entire world slip through his fingers, and his only coping mechanism is to yell at the people trying to help. It's classic Victor, but it's also a Victor we've never really seen this broken before. Not like this. But what really made me tear up was watching Victoria and Nick in that room. Because while Victor is raging against the dying of the light, the kids, they are absorbing the blow. Victoria tries to comfort him. She really does. She steps up, trying to be the strong daughter, trying to calm the storm that is her father. But you can see it in her eyes. She knows, she accepts the heartbreaking reality. The 10% survival rate is real to her. And She's breaking down inside. She's trying to hold Victor together while she is falling apart. And let's not forget the massive, heavy secret Victoria is carrying around right now. The fact that Nikki confessed Victor isn't even her biological father. Like, how is Victoria supposed to process that while her mother is basically given a death sentence? It's too much. It is just way too much for one person to carry. She's carrying the weight of the whole family on her shoulders. And then there's Nick. Poor, struggling Nick. He is just standing there, silent. Nick has been going through absolute hell lately. He's been spiraling into this dark, terrifying fentanyl addiction. He's been dealing with the psychotic torment of Matt Clark in Las Vegas. He's been kidnapped, drugged, manipulated, pushed to the absolute edge of his sanity. And now this. He's standing in a sterile hospital room, listening to a doctor say his mother has a 10% chance to live. It's like the universe is just piling bricks on his chest. Nick is trying to stay strong, trying to keep his own fragile mental state intact, but you can see the devastation. He's looking at Victor, watching his invincible father crumble, and he's looking at Victoria, and he just knows. Nick knows that this might be it. The reality is sinking into his bones. He's accepting it, even as Victor fights it. You just want to reach through the screen and give the guy a hug. The contrast in that room is just brilliant television, but it's so hard to watch. You have Victor, the immovable object, refusing to bend to reality. And you have Nick and Victoria, the unstoppable force of grief, realizing that they have to start saying goodbye. It creates this incredibly heavy, suffocating atmosphere. The Newman family is just drowning in this uncertainty and fear of loss. I mean, who actually believes this is going to end well? With a 10% chance? Sure, it's a soap opera. Miracles happen every sweeps month. But the way they are writing this, the finality of the surgeon's tone, the sheer desperation in Victor's voice, it feels different. It feels like they are genuinely preparing us for a world without Nikki Newman, or at least a world where Nikki is forever changed. And I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't think any of us are. Let's talk about that 10% number again, because it's so specific. It's not, she might not make it. It's, she has a 1 in 10 chance. It's a number that haunts you. Victor is probably running that number in his head on a loop. 10%, 10%, 10%. Like someone thinking out loud and not editing their thoughts. He's probably calculating the odds, trying to find a loophole in the statistics. But there are no loopholes in biology. And I think that's what's driving him insane. He's used to finding the hidden clause in a contract, the weakness in a rival CEO. But how do you outsmart a tumor? How do you negotiate with failing health? You can't, and Victor's learning that the hard way. He's demanding the doctors find a different path, a different treatment. He's probably going to fund a whole new research wing just to save her. But money can't buy time. Money can't buy a miracle when the odds are this bad. And you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Victor's stubbornness is exactly what Nikki needs right now. Maybe she needs someone to refuse to give up on her, even when the odds are impossible. Because if Victor accepts it, if he gives in, then it's really over. His denial is a shield. It's protecting him, but it's also protecting Nikki from the absolute finality of the situation. As long as Victor is fighting, there is a war to be won. But the toll it's taking on the rest of the family is massive. Victoria is trying to manage the company, manage her own identity crisis, and manage her dying mother. Nick is trying not to relapse into a drug-induced coma while grieving his mom. The whole family is just a house of cards right now, and Victor's raging denial is the wind that might blow it all down. It's a disaster waiting to happen. I just keep thinking about the history here. Victor and Nikki, they have been through everything. Divorces, affairs, kidnappings, fake deaths, real deaths, shootings, poisonings, you name it. They are the ultimate soap opera super couple. And to see them brought to their knees by a medical chart, it's incredibly humbling. It zooms you out and makes you look at the bigger pattern of the show. Y&R loves to put these two through the ringer. But usually there's a villain. There's a Patty Williams or a Matt Clark or a Diane Jenkins to fight. You can punch a villain. You can lock them in a basement. You can ruin their company. But you can't punch a 10% survival rate. You can't blackmail a disease. This storyline feels different because the enemy is invisible. The enemy is just nature. And that's a villain Victor Newman has no idea how to fight. So what happens next? Victor is going to go on a rampage. He's going to fire that top surgeon, probably. He's going to fly in another one from Switzerland or Japan or wherever. He's going to keep looking for a doctor who will tell him what he wants to hear. And that's the danger, because in his desperation, he might fall for a scam. We've seen hints of this before. Mysterious doctors offering experimental treatments for huge sums of cash. Victor is a prime target right now. He's a billionaire with a dying wife and a refusal to accept reality. He is the perfect mark for a medical con artist. And if he goes down that road, he might end up putting Nikki through unnecessary pain just to satisfy his own inability to let go. And Nick and Victoria will have to watch it happen. They'll have to watch him tear the world apart looking for a cure that doesn't exist. Honestly, the dynamic between Victor and his kids is going to be the most compelling part of next week. Victoria trying to gently bring her father back to earth. Dad, we have to face this. Dad, we have to be here for her, not chasing ghosts. And Victor just shutting her down. I will not accept this. I am Victor Newman. It's going to be explosive. And Nick might actually snap. Nick is already so fragile. If Victor starts acting crazy, Nick might just lose it. He might scream at his father to stop, to just let them be a family in what might be Nikki's final days. The tension in that hospital waiting room is going to be thick enough to cut with a knife. I can already picture the scenes. The dim lighting, the beeping monitors, the hushed voices breaking into arguments. It's going to be Emmy-worthy stuff, you guys. The actors are going to act their hearts out. And let's just visualize that hospital room for a second. The beeping machines, the cold, sterile walls. Victor standing there in his expensive suit, looking like a man who just got hit by a freight train but refuses to fall down. He's pointing his finger at the surgeon, that classic Victor Newman point, right? He's probably growling in that low, intimidating voice of his. You listen to me. You are going to fix my wife. You hear me? You will fix her. And the surgeon, this world-renowned expert, just looking back at him with pity. Because you can't intimidate a tumor. You can't fire a disease. Victor is throwing all his money and power at a wall, and the wall isn't moving. It's a tragic, beautiful, terrible scene. Nick is probably slumped in a chair in the corner, his head in his hands, fighting his own internal demons, fighting the urge to just numb the pain with the fentanyl he's been hiding. Victoria standing near the bed, holding Nikki's hand, tears silently streaming down her face. It's the portrait of a broken dynasty, a family that has conquered the corporate world, crushed their enemies, built empires, but is entirely powerless to save the woman who holds them all together. It just breaks my heart into a million pieces. And let's spare a thought for Nikki in all of this. She's the one actually facing the 10%. She's the one whose body is failing. While Victor is out there screaming at doctors and Nick and Victoria are crying in the hallways, Nikki is lying in that bed, facing her own mortality. She's probably looking back at her life, at her mistakes, at her triumphs. She's probably thinking about the secret she told Victoria. Does she regret it now? Does she wish she had kept quiet so Victoria wouldn't have to carry that burden? Or is she glad the truth is out before she goes? Nikki has always been the heart of the Newman family. If she goes, the whole family shatters. Victor will become a monster. Nick will probably completely lose himself to the drugs.